the Savvy Giving Gal podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Turley-Smith, and today I have the honor of sitting down with an incredible leader who is changing lives one meal at a time. My guest, Andria Larson, is the Executive Director of Lasagna Love, a nonprofit dedicated to spreading kindness and comfort through something as simple but powerful as a warm, homemade lasagna. Under her leadership, Lasagna Love has grown into a global movement with an astonishing impact of over 500,000 lasagnas delivered to families in need of extra love and kindness. More than 2 million individuals touched by the generosity of a home-cooked meal, a network of over 80,000 volunteers spreading kindness in their local communities, and a presence in 4 countries. Andria has woven together her professional expertise and her deep passion for service to create a meaningful, lasting impact. From coordinating volunteers to forging partnerships, Andria ensures that every lasagna delivered carries more than food. It carries compassion, hope, and connection. In this episode, we'll explore Lasagna Love's mission, what fuels Andria's passion for service, and the ripple effect of a simple act of kindness that can have on an entire community. This is a conversation about leadership, generosity, and the extraordinary ways ordinary people can come together to uplift one another. Andria, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This is quite an honor to be here with you.
Oh, I love having you here too. And I'd love to start with the mission of Lasagna Love.
We really exist to help feed anyone and assist anyone in need in our communities. And we bring together volunteers to those in need. And we do that through a pan of lasagna and just spreading kindness, strengthening the community connection when people are facing very difficult times. And so our whole sentiment of what we do is just providing a meal during a very challenging and difficult time, and also breaking the barrier and being able to ask for help and making it easier for those to be able to do that.
Yes. What do you think prevents people from asking for help? Because it is true, so many people have trouble, taking that step when they really need it, something even as simple as a lasagna, to ask for that. So what do you think that barrier is?
Look, it's hard to acknowledge out loud that you're in a difficult time. You are in the middle of something that is potentially life-altering and changing. And your whole mentality at that moment is to be strong and to persevere and step through that. And then to transition to a point where you have to soften yourself a little bit and acknowledge that you need help. That's a really, really hard thing to do. And so we find ourselves just not asking for that moment of help and recognizing that this is the time that there are people right outside that are available that want to help you. They just need to know. And so it's I would have to say it's just genuinely hard to transition your thought process on that when you're just trying to survive or get through these tough times.
It's so true. When I was preparing for the episode with you, I was thinking back to my own life, and a lasagna has such a significance in my life. I grew up in a big Italian family, and anytime anything would happen, good or bad, my mother or my grandmothers would make a lasagna. And it carries with it this love in your name, obviously, but I was thinking back to that feeling, and I can remember the feeling of showing up when something wasn't great, someone passed away, or there was a sickness, with this tray of lasagna and the impact that it made. So in your opinion, what do you think it is about this warm, home-cooked lasagna that is so universal for people?
Lasagna has become extraordinarily symbolic to us, and it's really baked in the layers of what we do. So there's so many different things that happen, but it's also a very simplistic dish, and people think it's, they overcomplicate it sometimes, and it's meat, cheese, noodles, and sauce. And then you do that 2 times over, and you have this very hearty dish, and first of all, everyone can get along and love meat, cheese, noodles, and sauce, especially kiddos, right?
Yep.
And so you have this dish that you've spent time, preparing your sauce, putting in the different layers and adding in your ingredients. And it's comfort towards a culinary hug, really. It's warm, it's hearty, it lasts forever. Sometimes it even tastes better the next day. And so it's great for leftovers. And it's something that people just they can start to see it and go, oh, there's a lot of love put into this, and you just unfold the layers and it keeps getting better and better as it goes through. So just like sauce as well, right? If you make your own sauce, especially as coming from an Italian family, the longer it simmers, the better it is. And then essence, we effervesce that way too. We start off with the act of kindness of bringing the lasagna to the neighbor in need, but that moment lasts a very long time, both for the person who had requested that, but also for the volunteers, right? So overall, I think that whole environment really kind of sets well for us to take this kindness and see it just globally spread, right? And so that is really the heart of who we are, is taking something very simple and being able to take that small step forward. And then it just has this deep meaning that just bubbles out from the top of it. So.
Yes. And you have grown. I mean, your organization is huge, and the impact that you've made and the number of lasagnas that have gone out into not just the United States, but the world is unbelievable. Can you talk about the process of someone requesting a lasagna, how the community members get involved? Can you just kind of talk through that with my listeners?
Absolutely. So we have everything really at the fingertips of folks through our website. So to request a lasagna, we really just get basic information. We don't need to know a lot of details because everyone's situations are very different, and we don't need to know. What we need to know is really who do we need to contact and where do we need to go. And so for someone who is needing to request a meal, they sign up, they put their name and contact information in, and then we match them up to a volunteer who is in the vicinity of that area. And then for volunteers, the same thing. They sign up on our website. They put in, the information that we would like to look at, and we make it super simple, right? So, how far are you willing to drive? How many lasagnas are you willing to make? We really want to make it to a point where it's what you can do when you can do it, and not have overcommitment and maybe you're doing it this week but not next week or next month, or maybe you just want to do it once. We really cater to that openness. And so we bring these two amazing volunteer and neighbor in need opportunities together to connect deeply in each individual community and make those opportunities happen for them. So it's all through our website. And like I said, you tell us exactly what we need to know, and then we bring everyone together to have some very meaningful opportunities where someone in need is receiving that lasagna.
I'm so excited to share today's sponsor, Vitality Bowls. Not only is it our go-to restaurant for clean, allergy-free acai bowls, smoothies, wraps, salads, paninis, and more, all made with organic granola and organic acai, but it's also an incredible franchise opportunity. With over 70 locations nationwide, Vitality Bowls offers entrepreneurs a chance to own a business that prioritizes health, quality, and community impact. Plus, Vitality Bowls is giving my listeners an exclusive discount of $1,000 off the initial franchise fee. Just email franchise@vitalitybowls.com and mention the Savvy Giving Gal podcast for more details. I always say that sometimes the simplest act of kindness is and can make the biggest impact. And clearly that is exactly what your organization is doing. I mean, yes, it takes time to make the lasagna, but it is such a simple thing. And I really do believe it has ripple effects in the community and for the people who receive the lasagna. Lasagna has a lot of community because it's a big dish and a lot of people can enjoy it together, not just families, but communities. Can you speak to the importance of community in your organization?
Absolutely. One thing, and even going back to my own personal experiences, that when someone is facing a very difficult time, you feel isolated, and sometimes you isolate yourself. And the biggest boost you can get to move forward through this experience is to at least be seen and felt heard, And once that happens, there's a lot of things that happen through that journey that bring hope. They bring the opportunity to see the other side, the perseverance to push through. And so, not are we just nourishing an individual, we're allowing them the opportunity to let them know we see you and we hear you. And then also for our lasagna chef volunteers, they have the opportunity to know they've made someone's day better. They brought a smile. We hear stories quite a bit about, the little ones are running out the door and they're like, it's my favorite lasagna, and, oh, it's noodles. And, hearing about kiddos who tend to be picky, who are like, oh, they love the meal and this is really great. I was really struggling. We were trying to figure out how to stretch our groceries through the end of the month, and this meal will give us 2-3 meals, and things like that. And you see these little faces pop up, or the relief of the parents when they open the door, or even the elderly neighbor who is, maybe has not been around their own family for quite some time and feeling a little, lonely, essentially, and being able to know that someone sees them in their community and recognizes that they're there and that they are still in need as well. And it's just a rewarding opportunity for everyone, and being able to spread that messaging along. So,
I've been in nonprofits for a long time, and over time, every time I'm involved in something new like this, I have a new perspective. What has been like a perspective shift for you working for Lasagna Love?
There are so many people in our communities that want to do something really good, that have constraints, that whether it's time or resources or abilities, and they want to do something really amazing. And we have the opportunity to provide them this platform to do it as they can. And I have the honor to be next to 80,000 people who only want to do good in this world, and we're quiet. And that's the thing. And maybe that's a little bit to the detriment because we're quiet. It's like the small little group, but we're really not. There's a huge number of people in every single community who want to do well and help others. And it's just giving them that opportunity to do that. So the surprising thing is how many people are really out there that they love their communities. They love the support. They just need that outlet to be able to do it in a time and a space that works best for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of people don't know how to give, but they want to give, and they don't really have the time, but they want to make some time. And when you can put together an organization like yours where it's simple enough that any of us can participate, I just feel like there is a huge ripple effect of that. And when I discovered you, it was quiet. And then I realized just how amazing and how many lives you've touched. And I think that's what's so special about it, though.
It's like peeling back the layers. The more you start to learn about us, the more you're like, wow, this is really amazing. And then there's this, and then there's that, and then there's this. So that's part of our secret sauce. So
yes. So can you talk about you've done so much, but what do you see for the future of Lasagna Love? Like, what are you looking forward to in terms of growth or different programs? Can you speak to that?
We really would love to see the ability to weave kindness back in through small steps every single day into the communities and bringing that connectedness in. And, while we've started with Lasagna Love, it doesn't have to end there. There's so many other things that we can do that is just taking the opportunity and taking that small step forward, because we are a collective of taking one act of kindness and then that rippling through. But that can happen in so many different ways. That could, bringing your neighbor's trash in, or, being able to, help out and open the door and keeping it open for someone and letting them know that, here you go. Hello, how are you? These simple things that happen that we have opportunity to really build stronger communities based on just these smaller interactions. But at the same time, I think we have the ability to really help those who are in our communities that are facing challenging times, and try to find additional help and support for them, and let them know that their community does genuinely care for them, and that they need to, just raise their hand and say, hey, I'm here. And there's no judgment. And breaking down that barrier. So it's a little bit of a twofold, right? We want to make things easier for folks, but we also want to see that that kindness really weave in and out through throughout not only the organization, but through our neighborhoods, because that's how we get better together as a society, is bringing all of this together. So we hope that we can have other ways that we can do this and facilitate that and see how we can just really leave the world better than how we may have been experiencing it in the first place. So,
yes. I mean, I think if we all walk through the world with that in mind, trying to just make every day a little better for someone else, I think that this world wouldn't feel so hard and negative at this moment. And so I love what you're doing. What drew you to this work, obviously, other than, I know how rewarding it can be, but can you talk about what drew you to do this work in your life?
This was never in my cards, I'm going to be honest. I was in corporate America for quite some time. I never envisioned myself in a nonprofit space in this degree. I love to volunteer in my own personal life and in many other ways. But I will say that when this started and when I saw the opportunity to be able to help others in my community facing very, very difficult times and very abruptly, my gut instinct was to go and help. And that is really driven from my own experiences. I was a single mother for several years with 2 kids under 5 at the time. And, life was difficult for certain parts of my life. And I kept thinking, it would have been so nice to have a meal with just my children and not have to worry about, whether it was bills or hours at work or, being able to get them to and from different places or, power, all of these things that land on your shoulders. And taking that moment and saying, I have the opportunity now at that point to do something about that for others and not have them experience that to the same degree, or if just bringing 20, 30 minutes to them, that will change their outlook, because I didn't feel seen. I felt very much in the corner and hidden. And I was one that probably would not have asked for help at that time because it was difficult. I didn't feel worthy enough, or maybe my situation wasn't as bad and maybe it's, just muddle through it and you'll figure it out. And so all of those things were very, very important to me personally, to make sure that we have the opportunity to continue to help support those who are facing those times, because I've been there. I've been there,
Yeah. I love that you can bring your own experience to your job and to these opportunities, because it does matter when you can relate to the people that you're working with. And I do think when asking for help, sometimes we don't think that our problems are big enough. And I love that your organization doesn't judge the problems. Like, you can be a single mother, you can be someone who's gone through law, you can be anybody, right? Like, anyone can request the lasagna.
Absolutely. And then, they say that you are one accident away for many, especially here in the States, many Americans, and going into financial, detriment. And that's so true. Everything is like, there's so many people who are in a space right now that it's scary. It's stressful, and all they're trying to do is just do the best that they can for themselves and for their families. And so while the majority of the folks that we initially started to help and serve because of the pandemic were financial or food insecure, that is still very much who we help support currently. But, it could be a brand new medical diagnosis where, maybe you're just not able to cook because you are facing some medical challenges, or a recent job loss and you're starting to try to figure things out and there's overwhelm, or, maybe there's so many, there could be a million different reasons. And like I said, honestly, for us as an organization, we don't need to know the details. It's if you're facing a very difficult time, we want to be there to help uplift that. And so, it's not just one or the other, but we do see quite a few community members who, are facing financial or food insecurities. And this is just an opportunity to help support them in that time and be able to let them know that we're there for them.
Yeah. Have you seen that problem get worse, food insecurity? I've done a lot of work with, feeding food insecure. And I just find, and I don't know if you do in time, that's why I'm asking, if it's ever increasing.
It really is. Especially in the last 9 months, we have seen those who have offered to share their story that the food insecurity and financial insecurity has definitely risen in our numbers significantly. So in April alone, just that month, we had over 13,000 new requests that came in 24 hours.
Wow.
Okay. So, and that was a spike off of, there was some major layoffs that were happening and things like that. And there's that 2-week time frame of benefits before people can apply for those things. So, we were seeing a gap there, and it's just ever growing. And it's terrible because a lot of the times, food insecurity and financial insecurity, we know is on the rise, but you see in the requests how many children are also affected. And personally, I have little ones, so that tends to hit really hard for me. But there's a lot of individuals who are just getting into the world themselves who, haven't been able to find work in the workforce and things like that. And we're starting to see homelessness arise too on our numbers, and so we're starting to see you can definitely see those trends through the requests that we have. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been feeling that too. So I appreciate you sharing your experience regarding that. Hey, travel lovers, it's Melissa. Traveling with my family to explore new cultures brings me so much joy. And all business class travel can make it even better with their top-notch personalized service. Use promo code SAVVY, that's SAVVY, to get complimentary Black Car Airport transfers. All business class travel makes it easy to focus on what really matters, cherished memories. Visit allbusinessclass.com and start planning your next incredible journey. So at the end of every episode, I like to ask my guests the same 3 questions. So I'm going to ask you. So the first is, what does it mean to you to be a community change maker?
Oh, a community change maker. I will honestly say I look at myself as no different than anyone else. It is our organization collectively that is the change agent. We have individuals who do incredible things. I'm just honored to be at the helm of the vision to kind of help bring this all together, but it takes all of us individually. So, I'm grateful to even be considered in that category, I'll be honest, but it's very humbling to know that we're able to do what we can do to support those who I know have been in similar circumstances of my experiences, but also in so many more. So it's still surreal. I'll be honest. I don't know that I can fully absorb that title.
Well, you should. You should, because I do think it takes a very special person to be at the helm, someone who's very empathetic, compassionate, willing to be vulnerable, share your story. That's not an easy thing to do. Say that you needed help and you can, step into the shoes of the people that you helped. And so I know how grateful I am to be sitting here with you and the change that you're making across the world. So I just want you to take in the title because you deserve it. How has helping others impacted your own well-being?
It's really been a softer change. While I recognized it and the things that were happening in the world before, it has really allowed much more grace in my life and a lot softer view on things. And I find myself listening and asking more questions than being able to recommend or, speak as far as giving advice. And I'm really appreciative of that. I really appreciate being able to have those type of deeper conversations where I understand others' experiences and that they're willing to share those with me. And it's not just through the organization. And that's in general, even in my own community. I've welcomed the opportunity to have the chance to listen to more stories than before, where I felt maybe I was, more in it was two-way, but now I feel like I've very much taken a step back so that way I can hear and listen better. So,
yeah, I think sometimes before my experience with being so involved in nonprofit work, it's not judgment, but it's like you have more opinions, and then you realize like people's experiences are unbelievable, and you really do need to listen to understand them, is my point. You need to listen to what they're saying and kind of take a step back in your own life and be able to say, oh, well, how does that apply to me? And how did it apply to my opinion before? And it's been a really positive experience. And clearly it's been really positive for you as well. So what is one small act of kindness that our listeners can incorporate in their daily lives, maybe other than a lasagna?
Absolutely. I think just, like I said, opening the door for someone, or just even looking at them, in their face or in their eyes. Those are very, very small things, small details that make a really big impact. We get so busy and we're laser focused on our lives. And I do the same thing from time to time, especially when the day is very heavy. You just A to B. Just take a moment and see, what is the one thing I can do right now? If it's returning the shopping cart to, that's sitting in maybe the parking lot, or, maybe it's, if you want, pay for the coffee behind you. It's those little small things that really will turn someone else's day into a very different direction if they were going through a tough time. And more people than not are facing these. And so, your chances of actually impacting someone is pretty good, and so just take a small moment and do something, and both of you will be pretty rewarded. Whether you see it or not, just know that in that person's day, it's really probably changed for the better. And it's going to be very rewarding for you as well, because now you've contributed into the overall kindness amongst you, and it's right around you,
Right. There's so much power in that, right? Like when you think about it, I just feel like there's just so much energy and power in doing something like that.
Absolutely. And it's the small things. It's, you don't have to do anything big and grand. It's just one moment and 20 seconds, maybe even, and that's all it takes. It's a little note maybe to your neighbor about, hey, I really like your holiday decorations, and just drop it over there. I mean, that really can brighten someone's day, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah, exactly. So how can my listeners get involved in Lasagna Love and connect with you or your organization?
Our website it has all of our information, and that's lasagnalove.org. If you are really excited and want to volunteer, it's lasagnalove.org/volunteer. For those who may find themselves in need, there is the lasagnalove.org/request. And so it's very easy. It's all driven off of that. You'll find out more information. You'll find out some of our impact points, where we are. You'll be able to get most of the information off of that. But of course, if they have questions, feel free to email us at info and then the @ lasagnalove.org.
Okay, awesome. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for being here with me today. I absolutely love what you're doing, and I know you're making a huge impact in the world, so thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. I appreciate the time.
I loved it.
Coming to fill up my cup.
Thank you for listening to the Savvy Giving Gal podcast. I hope it sparks a desire in you to dedicate even a small slice of your life to uplifting others. If you love this episode, please share it with a friend and hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Instagram at Savvy Giving Gal or visit my website, savvygivinggal.com. Remember, when we give together as a community, we not only change the lives around us, we strengthen our own health and well-being too.